Welcome to the NFL Football Garbage Time podcast. It's Hakoon Wong, your editor-in-chief, and with me is the OG co-host and godfather of Football Garbage Time. It's Scott King. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing pretty well. We'll see how I'm doing after this Lions game tonight, but so far I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, I know. It's a really important for you. And that it brings up a pretty interesting question here. There have been some really surprising results this season. Really just kind of blew my mind. A lot of teams which have overexceeded what we expected, a lot under, and some just right in the middle. It's a complete mishmash. Who would have thought at this time of the year that we wouldn't be counting the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Bills, I would think, in the top five?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that insane? It just totally blows my mind.
Yeah, it's been a wild season. I mean, I don't have to tell you who the number one seed in the NFC is, right? I mean, it's the Bears. So
of course, who would have thought anything else, right? I mean, who would have thought anything else?
I hope you're making a lot of money on that one because I for sure would have lost the bet. But I mean, you just go down this list and the teams that are out. A lot of teams that we thought were going to be in. Injuries, schedules.
Oh yeah.
People I think underestimate. I'll use the Lions for example. A couple years ago, they had a last place schedule, 15-2 record. This year, even with their injuries, they're having a first place schedule, and it makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You got all those factors in, and I mean, this league is razor thin. You can go from the top 5 draft pick to the number 1 seed in a year.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the crazy thing about it is that there's so many this is what blows my mind though. There's so many teams that have changed the position from where we expected them to be at the beginning of the year. I mean, it started off a little bit like with Miami. I actually thought Miami was going to be a lot better than they were. And of course they've had injuries, including Tyreek Hill, and things kind of went south for them, but they look nothing like I expected them to look like on offense. Tua regressed in many ways. Devon Chain can't carry that offense on its own, and that defense was a disaster for a long time. So there's that. And then, of course, the Chiefs. I mean, they can have a less than 500 record as of this week, right? I mean, this is shocking to me that where they are right now. And the Ravens are even more shocking. I mean, Lamar Jackson has had one touchdown all of November. So through all of November, he has had one touchdown. I mean,
I've got
Lamar
him in fantasy.
Jackson?
I know.
I mean, it's insane.
It's crazy. And even like you look down here, the Bengals, right? Like Joe Burrow's hurt again, 4-8. The Texans, everybody had them picked to do well. The Redskins, injuries, out of the playoffs.
Right.
You can just go down the list of these teams. The Lions are out. The Lions are out. The Cowboys are out. The Commanders are out. The Vikings and the Lions played in one of the last weeks of the season. It was 15-2, 14-3. And these teams are all out of the playoffs. And we've got the Bears are in, the Seahawks. It's just fascinating to see how
Seahawks
quickly
Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
right? I mean, let's think about this. Sam Darnold brought the Vikings there. Now they brought the Seahawks there. Maybe he wasn't as bad as we all thought. I mean, he's not as good as some people think, but I don't know. I mean, we've seen JJ McCarthy. Not feeling so great about that.
I have some general dislike for Michigan, so obviously I was hard on it. But he was 10 for 18 in the national championship, and all of a sudden people thought in the NFL it was going to get better. I don't understand. This happens all the time. People get fixated on a quarterback in the NFL. These supposedly brilliant minds, and they just think, oh well, it'll be different. I mean, my other favorite target is your old buddy Justin Fields.
Sure.
The guy cannot play quarterback,
but still,
he cannot play quarterback in the NFL. I said it before the draft in Chicago, in Pittsburgh, in the Jets, and people continue to be like, he's awesome. Let's put him out there.
Yeah,
he's a wildcat. Quarterback, like he's a wildcat running back who can occasionally throw the ball.
Right. He's basically a worse Taysom Hill at this point.
Yes, right. But NFL GMs keep thinking, oh, you know what? Well, let's draft him and roll him out there.
We can unlock him. Right. Yeah. Fool me once, Shame on you. Fooled me twice and 3 times. I know.
Yeah.
Shame on us. So yeah, totally agree. Really, really surprising results. But hey, let's talk about some of the bets that we're going to make this week, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to pick some games that we're going to pick some games to bet on. We're going to pick some prop bets, and you got an underdog special for tonight. It's going to be really cool to get. So let's go ahead and get rolling with that, and let's talk about the games that we want to pick for this week 14 with the spread here. Give me your first pick here, and which one? Why?
Yeah, so since it's tonight's game, I'm going to pick it, but it makes me sick to pick it. But it's Dallas plus 3 at Detroit. The Lions looked really bad on Thanksgiving. They just have a lot of trouble. I've been talking about it on Twitter. Offensive line injuries, Amon-Ra, Laporta, and offensive coordinator has just been. I mean, Johnny Morton's been replaced. How the Cowboys are only -3. I know the Lions are home. This should be an even line at least, or maybe the Lions -1. But if you're getting 3 points with Dallas, absolutely that's the bet to make. Probably straight up, because I don't think Amon-Ra's suiting up if it hasn't been officially announced yet. If he is, he's not going to do much. So yeah, this could be ugly for Detroit. They're really struggling, and you got Quinn Williams up in the middle, which on right where the Lions are weak on the line. So it's going to be a rough one. It's going to but Dallas +3 is the bet.
Well, even without Amon-Ra, Sam Brown suiting up, which we don't know yet. I guess he's still questionable at this point. But I think Tesla, right? I mean, he pops when Sam Brown's not in the lineup. I mean,
I gotta throw to him.
I'm just saying. I don't think you're without weapons here. And I think the more potent, it's a weird thing to say, but I think the better defense are the Lions right now. However, we'll see how that kind of works out on Thursday night. I mean, it's always a tough game to bet on. So you got the Cowboys there with 3 against your Lions. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. It makes me really nervous.
Tough. Maybe I'm too critical. I know too much.
Well, the Cowboys have been hot, so no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and they managed to crawl out of the basement to being 6-5-1, which is no small feat, considering where they were at the beginning of the season. I basically put them out the pasture after 4 weeks. So the fact that they're where they are now, and winning 3 in a row, they have a lot of momentum. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to pull something off. However, I do think Lions are the more talented team here. So we'll see what wins out here in Thursday night. So let me tell you, my first pick are the Seattle Seahawks over the Falcons at -7. So Seahawks -7 over the Falcons. And I'll tell you why. I mean, it's the Seahawks, I think, that have the better team all around, but they definitely have the better defense by a significant margin. Sam Darnold has been kind of a little bit iffy, right? I mean, he's given the ball away a lot recently. He's had the Seattle Seahawks altogether have the second most giveaways in the NFL right now at 22. Only the Vikings have turned over the ball more often than the Seattle Seahawks. However, on offense, they also have the 9th most yards per game and the 3rd most points per game at 29.2, tied with your Lions. So one of the most productive offensive teams in the NFL, although prone to turnover. On the other side, though, that's where I have the confidence here. Their defense has really, really stepped up this year. They allow the 6th least yards per game at 289.4 and the 3rd least points per game at 18.1. And they have the 5th most takeaways at 18. So that defense is very opportunistic, incredibly strong. There's very difficult for them to bend. And the Falcons just don't have the offensive firepower to do it. Kirk Cousins has been not great. I mean, not like Michael Penix Jr. was burning the earth, but this has not been great. And Drake London being injured is not helping them at all. Bijan Robinson not finding a lot of room. He's had his pop games, but I don't know if the Seahawks is going to be one of them. If you're going to rely on Kyle Pitts to carry you home and Darnell Mooney, I don't think you're going to get very far. So at the end of the day, the Falcons, they have a middle of the road offense. It's not been great so far. It's on a downward trend with Kirk Cousins, no Drake London. Defense, also relatively middle of the road as well. I'm not scared from them. They allow 318.9 yards per game and 16th most points, 23 0.0. So I think the Seahawks get this done at the points of the -7 without too much to sweat. And I like that bet. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, the Seahawks last week had something like 30 plus fantasy points with all those turnovers. I mean,
Yeah.
it was wild to watch.
Right.
And yeah, being here in Atlanta, the Falcons are a mess. I mean, it feels like the Lions, but even a little bit worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
It's a mess.
offense is just terrible. They've got this terrible Kirk Cousins uh, contract that they've got. My son is yelling for Morris to get fired every day. It's really bad for a roster that's not terrible if you go up and down. And the worst news, they traded their draft pick for next year with the Rams. So not only are the Rams probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl out of the NFC, they're going to end up with like a top 8 pick. And so it's just kind of wild, but yeah, I totally agree. It's
Yeah.
that's a good play for sure.
And you know what? I always look at who's the best player on the field in the game. And between the Seahawks and the Falcons, listen, all respect to Bijan Robinson, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best
Yeah.
player on that field in that game. I mean, he leads all wide receivers in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, targets, receptions. He also leads all wide receivers in terms of Pro Football Focus ratings for against man coverage, zone coverage, press coverage, and on 20-plus yard throws. There's nothing this guy can't do. And there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. I just think he is just going to be – he doesn't even have to do well for them to win. That's the thing that's even crazier here with the Seattle Seahawks. So they are dangerously low-key, right? They're low-key dangerous,
as
right. Everyone will say right now. All right, give us your second pick.
Yeah, so this one, I was trying to find a good value pick. And again, I like close line. So I like Miami -3 at the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins have struggled. But if you look at their schedule, they have beat up on the bad teams. So the teams they're supposed to beat, they beat them up. And the Jets, Tyrod Taylor, they came back on the Falcons last week, won that game at home, like miracle field goal, whatever. That was overtime, I think, it ended up being. But yeah, just the Jets are a mess, and Miami does beat up on the bad teams. I don't know what you do with that franchise in Miami. Is Tua the answer? I don't know. Mike McDaniel's in his like board shorts, whatever he's got going on the sideline. I think you've got to do something there, but I don't know what it is. But I do like them this weekend, -3 at the Jets. I think it's a good play.
Yeah, the Jets are an out-and-out disaster at this point. But Tyrod Taylor has injected a little bit of life into that offense that Justin Fields, the aforementioned Justin Fields, did not inject. I mean, it's interesting because it's almost like if I could combine the best traits of both players, I'd feel really good. If we get Justin Fields and his scrambling ability and add that into Tyrod Taylor, you'd have a perfectly complete quarterback. Unfortunately, we don't have the genetic ability to do that. So we can't make that happen, guys. I'm sorry. So unfortunately, you're stuck with one or the other. Tyrod Taylor at least gives them a fighting chance. And Adonai Mitchell, who I loved coming out of the draft, who ended up being nothing basically with the Colts, has found new life here in New York. So listen, I do think there is some firepower that may be up and coming in the Jets, but you're right. Honestly, at the end of the day, Devon Achane could probably win this game all on his own against that Jets defense. So I love that pick, Miami. That's at -3 against the New York Jets. All right, my second pick are the Broncos at -7.5 over the Raiders. And listen, this may be partially that I think the Broncos are good, but it's mostly because I think the Raiders are bad. I mean, the Raiders are absolutely pathetic across the board. On offense, I mean, Geno Smith has regressed dramatically, and they have no targets out there outside of Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is the entire offense. He's literally the entire offense. And that makes me really sad when you have a talent like Ashton Janty there, who has been, by any measure, a complete bust this year. I mean, they haven't been able to make him work in this system. So I don't think Ashton Janty is long-term bust here. I don't think he will be a bust in the NFL, but he is a bust in the Raiders system. And everybody's a bust in the Raiders system except for Brock Bowers. And that's just plain old like, hey, we got nothing else, So they have the third least yards per game, 259.5. Second least points per game, 14.9. Only the Titans have less at 14.2 per game. And, they allowed the seventh most points per game on defense at 25.7. So the Broncos, they're kind of middle of the road right now. And, listen, I think the jury's still out on Bo Nix. I actually don't know what he is right now. He's been good enough in certain instances. He's been good enough to get them over the hump when things don't go well for their defense. And he's been good enough by not giving the ball up as much as he giving them many opportunities to the opposing defenses so they don't give away possessions too often. But he hasn't been lights out. I don't think Bo Nix is a top tier quarterback, but he is definitely a good quarterback, a decent one. 12th most yards per game at that Broncos offense at 340.8. They're also 23.7. But like I was saying, he's good, but he not great. And part of the reason is he is the only reason why they're giving up possessions. They have the 11th most giveaways this season, 9 of those are interceptions. And one of the other turnovers is a fumble by Bo Nix. So basically all the giveaways are on Bo Nix. And that doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy. I've been there before with Bears quarterbacks giving the ball away a lot. And it doesn't matter how good your defense is, doesn't matter how good your skill players are, the whole thing goes to crap. But for this week, the Broncos definitely a better team. And on defense, as I said, 5th least yards per game, 286.4, 4th least points allowed per game, 18.2. So Broncos best defense, Raiders one of the worst offenses. Put that together, what do you get? I see a lot of points for Brock Bowers as they try to catch up, but the Broncos take this over with ease at minus 7.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely, think that's a good bet. There's a lot of things, about your analysis. I totally agree with. Is Bo Nix Sam Darnold? I mean, is that the comp? And Genty played that Boise State soft schedule. Everybody got super excited. Is this just who he is in the NFL? I'd have to look back. I don't think he did great in the playoffs, right? I mean, when he played a big power program. So yeah, it's a lot of trouble. And I don't even know what you do in Vegas. Like you just start over again. Like Gino leaves and it regressed and Darnold's doing well. But I think Bo Nix is Sam Darnold. Maybe that's his season. Is that enough to take a elite defense and a solid group of players on offense to the Super Bowl? Could be.
Maybe.
As long as you don't turn it over. If he throws 4 interceptions in a game, you're not going to make it. But
it's like the Peyton Manning year in many ways in Denver, right? I mean, he was just okay enough.
Right. That's right. Don't turn it over and you win. So yeah, I think that's a good bet. I think that's a good, that's a good solid number.
Yep. And all right. So we got our 4 picks of the week. So great ones there for week 14. Let's flip the page here and talk about some prop bets. And I know you got an underdog special for us. So let's start right there. What is your prop bet picks and your underdog special for this week?
Yeah. So this one's all for tonight. Underdog. I've got a great partnership there. So use promo code Fantasy Expert. The link's on my Twitter account if you want to get some good bonuses. But I'm going to go all in on tonight's game. I've got Pickens. I've bought down to 49.5 receiving yards. So I've got his over. He's been doing great recently. Detroit, I think I might be playing corner tonight. They haven't called me yet, but there's nobody left to put out there. With Amon-Ra on the sideline, J-Mo went off last week. I think that's going to happen again. So I've got J-Mo over 49.5 as well. And then I'm anticipating the Cowboys to win this game. And when that happens, they're going to be running the ball in the second half. And I've got Javonte Williams over 59.5 rushing plus receiving.
Ooh.
So Thursday night special, Pickens over 49.5, J-Mo over 49.5, and Javonte Williams over 59.5 rushing plus receiving. I think the Cowboys get up and he just grinds it out in the second half.
Oh yeah, I love that. So you're taking that out as your underdog pick. That's a parlay, right?
That is an underdog parlay. Football Garbage Times podcast special. I haven't even put it on Twitter yet. So
nice, very very nice. All right, we'll get that up there right away. I love that. I love those picks, by the way. I think those are really really solid picks. And the Lions in some ways befuddle me because last week obviously you got Jameson Williams just totally taken off. The week before he had a donut, and I'm like,
that's right.
I just don't, I don't get it. But hey, listen, you're out there to win games, not to get people's stats. So whatever works, it works. But I love the fact that you're leaning on him with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, likely either going to be limited in some way or out in this game tonight. So that'll be really interesting. I got a couple ones for you that I want to pass by you here, Scott, for the weekend. And I'd love to get your view on some of these prop bets because some of these things have kind of popped up and I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel good about this. And I want to go first over to Bijan Robinson. So I am picking against those Falcons, like I said, because I do think the Seahawks are a superior team. And that Seahawks defense is fantastic. But one thing to keep in mind is that the Seahawks defense, although they're fantastic against running backs, they're only 29th in the NFL in receiving yards allowed to opposing running backs. So that means Bijan Robinson getting plenty of opportunity there to pile on some receiving yards. The over-under on his receiving yards this week is 34.5. I think that the Falcons are going to be trailing, and they're going to have to get Bijan involved, particularly with Drake London likely out. And you can't rely on just Kyle Pitts because it's Kyle Pitts. Darnell Mooney's getting a couple here and there. But listen, Bijan is your guy. Get him out in space. Let him create. I think the over on 34.5 receiving yards for Bijan Robinson is a good prop bet. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great bet. I've had a lot of bets on Bijan this year. There was a game not too long ago. He had like 90 yards receiving in the first half or something. So he can. The thing there's no one to throw it to. The Falcons love to get him the ball. You got to be careful sometimes on those side pass. Is it a run or does he get it across? If he gets it over the line of scrimmage, he can take it. You can get that prop done the first drive of the game, the first play of the game.
Yeah,
because I've seen it and I've watched it. So yeah, Bijan's a good one to grab on a prop because that's a pretty low. I mean, that's a low number for him.
Yeah,
especially with nobody else going.
Exactly, and the other thing that to keep in mind, Bijan has had over 35 receiving yards in 9 of the 12 games he played in this year. 9 of 12. So I mean, I just don't see how I almost don't feel like he can miss 34.5. Of course, famous last words for all of us who put bets on anything, right?
I think I missed him. I think I had him 1 week, maybe last week.
Oh, that's right. It was like a half yard or something,
89 and a half, and he ended up at 89. I think I had two. I had 2 of them, and actually I missed 100x like ladder by something ridiculous, like a yard and a half and a half.
Oh
like, yeah, I've been burned by 3 feet, like by a foot and a half quite a bit lately.
That's a bummer.
Yeah,
that's no fun.
Right.
That is no bueno. So that's what we have to deal with there. You think you can't miss, and then all of a sudden that half foot ends up being a problem.
Yep.
So let me ask you this one. Another running back who's kind of popped recently and was surprising to me because at the beginning of the season, he was absolutely inefficient. He got volume, but was incredibly inefficient. And I'm talking about Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, I'm not thinking he's like the best thing ever, but they get the chance to face the Buffalo Bills right now. And the Buffalo Bills have one major issue. They cannot stop the run. Their defense cannot get any push on there. They're 30th in the league in defending against the run. So listen, we know that things are, different now. Joe Burrow back behind center, but Chase Brown has been fantastic as of late. The Bills are surrendering 141.3 rushing yards per game. The over-under on him this week is 51.5 rushing yards. 51.5. Listen, sure, there'll be some other guys who get a couple of carries here and again, but Chase Brown has gotten the lion's shares of carries in the backfield there. I see this as being a competitive game. I don't think that the Bengals are dummies. They got to win, and they know that the Bills have this particular issue stopping the run. I see them feeding Chase Brown when necessary. Now, the problem is that he might be getting some screen passes, and he might be getting a lot of other work there. So, yeah, that could happen, but 51.5 doesn't seem like a big thing here. So I'm going to take the over on 51.5 rushing yards for Chase Brown. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I've got him in a fantasy league. And I mean, it's clear from last week, right? The Bengals are a completely different team with Joe Burrow. So where teams might have been able to play closer to the line of scrimmage. Now the opposite, they have to play further back because
Right.
Burrow and Chase, and Jamar Chase Brown, can get behind them and make some plays. So it's going to be softer. Burrow's looked great. I mean, he didn't look like he had any issues from that foot. I was terrified of touching anybody in prop last week, but
Right.
yeah, the defense is going to have to play back to respect Burrow and Jamar, and um, Chase Brown should absolutely get his fit. I mean, that's another one. He get that in the first half, and then you just
Yeah.
sit back and watch the game.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Is that there's
That's
so
a
much
good one.
opportunity for him to get there, and he's rushed more than 70 yards in 5 of his last 6. So this prop bet is only 51.5. I feel like there is a clear path to victory there
Yeah.
for Chase Brown this weekend. All right, well, that takes us to the end of our show. I'm going to hit the air horn on the show here. That was awesome. It was really great to get these great bets and picks. We're going to start to do this more regularly because, man, I want to kind of feed all this great information to our listeners and get them on Underdog. Again, give us your social media and give us that Underdog code again so people can sign on and get some extra bonuses.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow me, NFL Fantasy _more on Twitter. I've got plays going all the time. Fantasy Expert is the promo code. I think I'm like 17-3 on the NBA. So
Nice.
I've actually got a little process that I go through on the NBA, and so I'm having a lot of success. And then obviously the NFL, we've got plays as well. So I'm always putting them out there, looking for those like we talked about. You don't have to go out and take Josh Allen and all these big name guys. You've got to find the value.
Right.
The Chase Brown 51.5 is outstanding value. I love that. And
Yeah.
and you just, I just like to grind away and just keep talent, a win's a win. And you don't need a 14 leg parlay to
Although those
have
are
a good
fun.
weekend. Those are fun, but you're not going to make a living on that.
No,
You're going to
no,
make you're going to make a
not.
living finding the Chase Brown over 51.5 for sure.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And then give us your social media so people can follow you again.
Yep, NFL Fantasy _more on Twitter, NBA and NFL, and then we're about 7 weeks away from the NASCAR coming back, so we'll be ready
all
for
those
that.
picks. Oh yeah, everybody give Scott a follow. You will not regret it. Lots of great picks there on DFS for all those things, as well as these prop bets for underdogs. So definitely check that out. Thank you for listening and wasting time with us. Again, my name is Hakun Wong. You can find me on Twitter, X at FB Garbage Time, or on Blue Sky. You can also find us on the Football Garbage Time page on Facebook. Listen, we got plenty more to come in the rest of the season. We got some picks. We got a handicapper going to join us, and we're going to go head-to-head with them coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we got a lot of great content coming. Check back often. Check back every day. And give us a like. Give us a follow. We really appreciate you. And enjoy your NFL week.